Hello, hello, and let's talk about something that I enjoy doing, which is growing African violets. But I have recently started to self-pollinate and gather seeds to grow my own colors. You never know what you're going to get, even if you try. You know too that you're pollinating. So instead of making a video, I thought I'd show with pictures. So here you see the African violet flower. This one's rather large. I believe it's called circuit breaker, and you can see there are pollen like nodules, pollen sacs, and then there is the pistil, the female part, poking out. You notice there's white on the tip. That's because I've already pollinated this, and I'm just waiting to see if the ovary develops. So the pollen sacs are essentially the stamens, and with the African violets, they have to be cracked open to get to the pollen, otherwise they don't self-pollinate. So here are two that I grew from seed that I just mixed up the pollen and cracked it open, put it on different pistils of random African violets just to see what I could get. So one of them is white with sort of a bluish purple, and they're very streaky. This is not one I had already had. This is a brand new color. Sometimes you'll get different leaf variations, like variegations and really curly. And the one on the right is sort of a cabbage style, white with purple edges. I do have one called Green Goddess, which is a really curly cabbage green flower. So this must have got some genes from that. So it's interesting to see the different types, and it's kind of surprising to see that you've created your own variety from pollinating. So the first step is to pop off that little yellow pollen sac. And you want to get it from a fairly dried out flower, one that you've let wilt. Then I usually will pick it off, and I'll either crack it open right away or I'll let it sit for a few days, then crack it open. I believe the pollen remains viable for 3 months or about 90 days. That's what I've read. So here I have some that I've crushed with this little penknife, chopped it up, and you just kind of pretend you're chopping parsley or something very fine. Here at the bottom right I have one of those pollen sacs or little pods, and it's shaped like sort of two kidneys stuck together. What you want to do is I crack it with a knife sideways, so not down the middle but across, and that seems to work best to break it open. So here you can see I've actually cut one open, and it's a hard yellow outer shell, and then there's pollen inside of it. You can see some on the knife where the pollen is very fine. It's like dust, and it will get everywhere. Some plants produce a lot of it when you crack them open. Some, it seems like it's not a lot. And I believe it's just some have more pollen and some barely have pollen, if the pollen is viable. But this is the method that I use. Notice I cut it across and cracked it open, and now I can continue to chop it up into those fine bits that you saw earlier. Here you can see I've scraped back and forth to get the pollen on the blade of the knife, and this is the best delivery I found. Brushes and Q-tips, they're just too messy and they take up most of the pollen. The pollen is very fine, so if you deliver it on a smooth surface, you can easily see it pulled from the surface to the actual female part, the pistil that sticks out. With this, the pistil of the flower, you want to get it as soon as it opens. If you pollinate an old flower, it may not take, so you want to make it a new flower. So they say maiden, old man. Old man would be the pollen, so you want an older flower. The maiden is the flower that just opened up, and that's the best way to get one to successfully pollinate. In this picture, I'm actually found a flower and I'm delivering the pollen to the pistil, the one part that sticks up. Notice those pollen sacs below it I have not touched. They're not really doing anything. I haven't harvested them, but I am delivering the pollen, pressing it against the blade and picking it up on that little tip. and hopefully if it's receptive, it will deliver it down the tube and the ovary will be fertilized. So here you can see I've scraped the blade against the pistil, and you can see the little tracks where it's picked it up. Hopefully it seems like it's receptive. If your pistil looks dried out, it probably is not receptive or not viable. This one is nice. It doesn't look dried out. The tip is white where I've covered it. To be honest, I will pollinate them every day for a week just to make sure they're pollinated. You never know when the window is open for them to be pollinated. The best success I've had is just keep repeatedly pollinating them this way every day for a week. Even go into the next week if you like. And here's a picture of two, and their ovaries are starting to swell. I hope this means it's a successful pollination so that I'll get some seeds, but you never know. Sometimes they'll just stop growing and just shrivel up. If the flower wilts and dries out and the middle part is green, it will stay green for a little while after the flower starts to dry out. It's been successful. Then I wait for that little pollen sac. Now it's a bright green right now. Could be a darker green, but it will somewhat dry out. It will not crack on its own. I've never seen that. You will pop that off, you will cut that in half, and if you have little brown specks that pop out, could be 100, 200, 300, you've got African violet seeds. Now germinating them is a whole nother thing to deal with. It takes a while. The ovary will stay on the plant a month, maybe 2 months, and then when it's dried out, you can pick it and harvest it. You want to use the seeds right away. I've never let them dry out too long. And what you'll do is sprinkle them right on top of the dirt. Moist, keep them moist, cover them, and it can take 1, 2, 3 months for them to germinate. But that's a whole nother video, but this is how you get started pollinating African violets. I hope you enjoyed.